I'm going to calculate it, and I want you to do the same thing in Excel or in a financial calculator. Ready, go. Hey guys, what's going on? Hayden here, author of Skip to Flip 1 and new release Skip to Flip 2. If you have not got this on Amazon, I will post the link in the description. My brand new book, I am super excited about it. Make sure you get a copy of that. Today, we're going to be talking about a very important topic if you want to dive into the world of real estate investing, and that is DSCR, which is also known as debt service coverage ratio. That's a mouthful. That's why they call it DSCR, because it's such a mouthful, okay? Debt service coverage ratio is exactly what it sounds like if we break it down. It is going to be how much money do my property, my personal self, we're gonna dive into those differences, cover, how many times does it cover the debt that I'm gonna have to pay, okay? So let's dive into some quick numbers real quick. Just a preview, we're gonna be talking about this for residential investing, we're gonna be talking about this for commercial investing and the differences between the two, okay? So let's go over real quick, if we had let's say we have a rental property, okay? And let's say this rental property produces $12,000 a year, okay? Let's say that's its rent. Let's say its expenses are, I don't know, let's say $5,000 a year, okay? And so that's going to give us a $7,000 NOI. NOI meaning net operating income, right? And so if we're going to have a $7,000 NOI, this is the number that we want to look at to manage our debt service coverage ratio, okay? And so let's say that on this property, let's say we bought this property for $100,000, okay? And let's say that we put, 20% down. So we put $20,000 into the property, okay? And so that means that our debt would be $80,000, okay? Now I'm gonna do some math real quick. Let's see what our payments on $80,000 would be on a 360-month or 30-year amortization at a 4% interest rate. So I'm gonna pause real quick, I'm gonna calculate it, and I want you to do the same thing in Excel or in a financial calculator. Ready, go. All right, awesome. So you got the right answer, right? The right answer is $381.93 a month, or $4,583.16 a year. So let's write this in here. Our debt is going to be $4,583.13. These are our debt payments, okay? I could probably make those red. And so after this number, we're going to subtract this out to get our cash flow number. So I'm just going to make that negative, and we're going to do $2,416.84 of cash flow. Okay, simple enough. This is just a basic P&L, basic cash flow statement for this rental property. Now, let me ask you a question. What in this example is your debt service coverage ratio? Do you know it? Let's calculate it together. So what we're going to do, the goal of debt service coverage ratio is to say how many times does my NOI cover my debt? I'll say that again. How many times does my NOI cover my debt payments in one full year? Okay, so all you have to do to figure that out is you take $7,000, our NOI, and you divide it by 4583.13. Do that now. And so the answer is 1.52. Our debt service coverage ratio, DSCR, on this deal is 1.52. Very simply put, what that tells me is for every dollar of debt payment I have $1.52 of NOI to pay that. I'll say that again. For every dollar of debt payment I have $1.52 of NOI to cover that. That's very good. 1.52 is a very healthy debt service coverage ratio number. And so now that you understand what DSCR is, let's talk real quick about where DSCR should fall. Lenders across the board are going to want normally a minimum of 1.15. Okay, 1.15 in order to give you a loan. They want to make sure there's more money then they're going to have debt payments in order to be able to cover these in case something unexpected happens. Okay, and so if we had a DSCR of 1.0, what that would mean in this situation, of 1.00 DSCR would mean either my debt payments are $7,000 or my NOI is $4,583. That would give me a 1. 7,000 divided by 7,000 would be 1, or 4,583 divided by 4,583 would be the other. And I'm not saying you have to take one or other, one up or one down, or whatever way you want to take that. All I'm saying is if those two happen to equal out, that would be 1. And so if we have a number that's below, like let's say for example, what if we boosted, what if our expenses, instead of being $5,000, our expenses were $10,000? Okay, what would this number be here? Then our NOI, 12,000 minus 10,000 would be 2,000. What would our debt service coverage ratio be if that were the case? I want you guys to do this math with me. I like y'all doing math with me. You learn better that way. So do this math. So what I get whenever I do this calculation, this gives me a 0.43 debt service coverage ratio. That's really bad. That means for every single dollar of debt payments I have, I'm only going to have 43 cents coming in, which means where am I going to get that other money from? Okay, and so this is the question that leads me to my next segue of where I want to go, the difference between residential DSCR and commercial DSCR, or as I could say, an owner-occupant home loan versus a investment property loan, okay? And so we have DSCR for the property, but we also have something else called DSCR, and we call it global DSCR, okay? And so what global DSCR is, global DSCR tells us how much income does this person bring in general versus how much are all of their debt payments. So let me write a quick example here and we'll dive into the numbers. All right, so let's jump into what global DSCR is. Global DSCR is simply looking at your full financial picture as a borrower and what all your incomes and what all of your expenses are going to be, and we're essentially going to do the same thing. So let's look at this example. Let's say instead of wanting to buy this property for investment purposes, let's say you want to live in this house, and let's say the numbers are the exact same, although if you're going to live in it, I'd hope you get a lower interest rate. But let's say $100,000 purchase price, $20,000 down payment, $80,000 loan, which yields us a $4,583 a year of mortgage payments. Now let's run over here and let's look at your global financial picture. This is essentially a P&L for you as a person. And so let's say that you make $100,000 a year from a job, and let's say that you have $12,000 a year of car payments, $10,000 a year of student loan payments, and let's say you have credit card debt and the bank calculates that these payments on average are going to cost you $6,000 a year. So what we'd want to do is we want to subtract this out to figure out essentially our NOI for us as a person, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take the $100,000, and we're going to subtract out $12,000, we're going to subtract out $10,000, and then we're going to subtract out $6,000. Okay, and that gives me $72,000 of available income. Okay, and so obviously in this situation, our debt service coverage ratio is going to be huge, right? What we do is take $72,000 divided by $4,583. Okay, and that would give us a 15.7 debt service coverage ratio, which is huge, and that would be really, really strong. But let's say, for example, that we wanted to, instead of doing a $100,000 home, let's say that we were going to do, let's say an $800,000 home. So let's go take a look at $800,000. At $800,000 purchase price, that at 20% down would give us a $640,000 loan, okay? And a $160,000 down payment. Now let's go figure out at the same terms how much that mortgage payment would be, okay? So $640,000, 4% interest, 30 years. Let's go take a look. That would give me, so a $640,000 loan at 4% interest over 30 years would give me a monthly payment of $3,055 or an annual payment of $36,665, okay? So $36,665 0.52 would be our annual payments. And so now obviously the debt service coverage ratio is going to be a lot less, but let's still see what it is. 72,000 divided by 36,665 gives us a 1.96 debt service coverage ratio, which is still a really strong ratio. This would still fall into a pretty good category. And so all lenders are a little bit different. One of the things whenever you're looking at borrowing money, they're definitely going to run a global DSCR to make sure that this number can cover this. They're also going to look at affordabilities, like they want this to fall in to a certain range of your total income, but they look at really the global picture. And so the difference, the first way is really when we're looking at commercial properties, commercial investments, they care about the DSCR of that particular property. Whenever you're buying personal homes, personal assets, cars, whatever, they're looking at your global DSCR and they want to know, hey, where else can we pull income from in order to make the payments on this loan? And want to make sure that those ratios are in check. And so this is what global debt service coverage ratio, the difference between global and normal DSCR is. And sometimes the two will combine. If you are trying to get a loan for an investment property and the lenders are saying you don't have the income to meet the DSCR requirements, what you really need to do is you need to make sure you're asking them, because this right here, let's go back to the example where this was that investment property with $12,000 rents, $5,000 expenses, $7,000 of NOI. We'd want to make sure that we could come back in here and we could add that $7,000 of NOI from our property back into this number, right? So we take this from 72,000 to 79,000, and that would help our ratios out. So you always want to make sure a lender's never cutting you at the knees and not using the income that you're going to gain by buying that investment property. So if you guys thought this video was helpful, I'd really appreciate a like. If you haven't already got my second book, Skip the Flip 2, go grab it off Amazon now. And of course, all of the stuff that we just did the math on, you can do this yourself every single time you want to buy a property. But what I prefer to do is to use my new software called My Property Stats. You can check it out at mypropertystats.com, and it'll run all of these formulas and calculations for you, and you just plug in a couple of quick numbers and you can analyze any real estate deal in the world by checking out that. I think it's the world's best deal analyzer. So go check out My Property Stats, subscribe to the channel, share this with a friend. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer it. Drop a comment below. I'll see you in the next video.